Hi friends, it's Kate. I'm filming this the day after the 4th of July, so I'm hoping that you've had time to recover. But I thought, because 4th of July is often a day of indulgence for many of us in America, whether you celebrate the holiday or not, there's just lots of activity going on. And for me personally, I have an annual tradition of eating hot dogs on Independence Day. It is the only day of the year that I eat hot dogs. And it's one of my guilty pleasures. But as the years go on, I find that I'm able to eat less and less of them. My body does not tolerate them as well. So I thought that maybe today we could do a sequence that's focused on what some yogis consider detoxifying, which is twists. So the thought process is that as we twist through the abdomen, we're encouraging movement through the guts, encouraging blood flow in the area as well, and in theory, working out any of the toxins that are sitting inside of our intestine. Now, whether or not this is true, I don't think there are any actual studies that support it, but there is a long-standing tradition that twists are good for digestion. So I figured we could do some twists today. It's super hot, so I'm going to do what I can to keep the energy level down. But just know your limits, right? So whether or not you're in a super hot environment like me, you can adjust the practice however you need to. You can always make it more vigorous, make it less vigorous. I'm gonna try to stay down on my mat the whole time, but you might want to have some props with you. So if you have blocks at home, you might want to have some of those handy. I'm sitting up on the bolster today. It matches my mat. I know sometimes it's a little hard to see it. So I'm probably going to plan on using that as well. So if you have like some extra pillows handy, that would be good. And then I probably am actually going to use a blanket too, because my knees have been sore. So every little kind of thing that you like to have with your practice, make sure it's close so that you can grab it in case you need it. And we'll get started. So I always like to start with seated meditation. Now, depending on whether or not you're feeling super nauseated, seated meditation might be the right answer. If you're not feeling super nauseated, it might even be nice to lay down. So it's up to you. Find something that works. I find that when I have a really full belly, sitting up is best because my body then can work with gravity to pull all of the extra bloat that I have out of the stomach and through the intestine. So just pick a pose that's comfortable for you. If you'd like, you can close your eyes, take some deep breaths, or as deep as you can manage. Drop your shoulders, check in with the hips, make sure that they're not tilting one way or another, forward or back. If your mind wanders off, just bring it back to this moment and this place. I'm outside, you might even be able to pick up on certain physical sensations. So for me, the wind blowing through my hair as it tickles my skin is a point of focus for me today. Couple more breaths here. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes and we'll inhale, reach both arms up overhead, interlace the fingers, turn the palms face up. Big breath here all the way in. Whew. Big breath all the way out. And we'll shake the hands out. If you're sitting up on something, you can continue to stay here, or if you're like me, I like to sit all the way down on the mat when I work through some of my poses here. So we're going to take a big inhale, reach up with the right arm, exhale, come over to the left side, and we're finding space between the shoulder and the hip here. So this is going to give our torso, our abdomen more space for more digestion. And you can use prop underneath the elbow, or you can stay really high up on your hand. You don't have to come all the way over. Just find something that works for you. Inhale and come up. Exhale, reach over to the opposite side. So be mindful, especially if you have really full belly. Some of these poses might be a bit much, and so you want to just approach them softly. So there's no need to go super deep. Just the movement itself, a little bit here, a little bit there, will help work everything out. Help it find its own place. And then we'll inhale, come up, exhale over to the opposite side. Feel your shoulders sliding down your back, so don't let it creep up near your ear. Inhale up, exhale over. Trying to keep both hips down on the floor. We'll inhale, come up, exhale over one more time. And then from here, we're going to do my favorite thing, which is take the palm, turn it face up towards the sky, and then exhale, bring the left elbow or the right elbow down to the left knee. Inhale, open up. Exhale and close. Inhale and open. Exhale and close. One more. Inhale and open. Exhale and close. Leave your elbow here. Take one big breath all the way in. One big breath all the way out. And then walk the hands in front, coming into a soft forward fold. Now when you're ready, we'll inhale and come up. And if you haven't already, I would advise switching your legs. So we'll do the other side. So reaching up and over with the left arm. Exhale, coming over to a bend to the right. And then while we're here, we're going to turn the palm face up, bend at the elbow. Press the palm towards the sky, opening up across the shoulders. Exhale, bring the elbow down to your knee. Inhale and open. Exhale and close. Inhale and open. Exhale and close. One more. Inhale and open. Exhale and close. Leaving your elbow there. Inhale all the way in. Exhale all the way out. And then we'll walk with hands in front of us, coming again into a soft forward fold. Notice how this forward fold feels different now that we've crossed the legs in the opposite direction. And then we'll inhale and come up. So we're going to come onto our hands and knees. So hands right underneath the shoulders, knees right underneath our hips. And I'm going to go ahead and put my blanket underneath right away because I can just feel them starting to hurt. There you go. So from here, we're going to take a big inhale, exhale, curl. Inhale and open. Exhale and curling. Inhale and opening. Being careful not to drop your belly too much. So when you drop your belly, you're going to put a lot of pressure through the lower lumbar spine, but also through the front part of the belly that's trying to keep all of your extra guts in. So you don't want to put too much stress on that if you've overeaten. All right, so from here, right foot's going to come forward. We're going to come into a low lunge. So you have your blocks, you might want to have them handy. And we're just going to come forwards as much as we need to, being mindful that the further you come forwards, you're going to start to open up through the hip flexor on the left side, so the side with the leg extended behind. We don't want to cause too much pressure. So all of this is like finding a good balance between finding a stretch and not increasing too much pressure to make us feel nauseated. Feeling the front hip reaching straight back so that our hips are parallel to the short edge of the mat. All right, so from here, I like to come out of the pose just a little bit so that you can see if I can find my balance. Now we're going to incorporate a little bit of a twist. So from here, same hand as the front leg, so my right hand, thumb's going to tuck into the hip crease here. Fingertips are going to drop down towards the floor. Opposite hand, my left hand is going to come to the outside edge of the left knee, of our right knee, excuse me, and we're going to use this to turn the chest just a little bit. So very soft. If I were to remove my hands, chest doesn't move. So we're just giving ourselves the smallest bit of adjustment and stability here with the arms. And then, if you'd like, see if you can sink back down into the pose. Gaze can turn and look off behind you if that's comfortable. If you want to try a different variation with the arms, you can also extend them forwards and back. This is not my favorite variation. Some people really like it because it gives you a lot of spread across the front of the chest. But for me, I end up using a lot of my back muscle to try and pull my shoulder blade behind me. So if I keep my hands low, it removes the temptation. So it's up to you. You can try both. Just extend through one hand or the other. Find what works for you. And then we'll release back down onto the blocks. Take the front foot, step it back, and use the other side. So this time left foot is coming forwards, and we're going to sink into the left knee, dropping the front of the right hip flexor down towards the floor. And you can see I'm kind of coming in and out of the pose. So I'm trying to find the right alignment for myself. So I have a little bit more space so I can creep my foot forward. And then once I get to the spot where I'm starting to feel a stretch, but it's not overdone, this is where I stay. Taking the front hip, reaching it back, imagining I have string tied from my toes behind me to the outside edge of my left hip. And I'm trying to cinch that string a little bit tighter. Big breaths all the way in, all the way out. And from here, we'll inhale, come up and out of the pose, just a little bit. And then we're going to come into our twist. So, same hand as front legs, my left hand. Thumb's going to tuck into the hip crease, fingertips pointing down towards the floor. Opposite hand here is going to come to the outside edge of the right knee, so your left knee. And just make sure that the knee isn't dropping in. So you should be able to see your big toe on the inside edge of your knee here, even though we're putting our hand in a little bit of extra pressure here on the outside edge. And we're going to turn the chest as far as we're comfortable. And then once we feel stable, again, remember you have options for arms. They can be out to the side if that helps. But once you feel stable, then we're going to see if we can sink into the pose a little bit more. Notice how maybe this makes the pose feel different in your hips. Versus having more space. Dropping the outside edge of the left hip down towards the floor. Not letting it creep up. Low ribs coming in. And then when you're ready, we'll release the hands down. Come back to hands and knees. And do some extended cat stretches. One more, just for good measure. Excellent. So we're going to open up the hips a little bit more, bringing into a twist. So to start, we're going to have our hands right where they are, underneath the shoulders. We're going to tuck under the toes, shift the weight back just enough, and lift up to downward facing dog. So we can stay here for a couple breaths if it's not too much. If it does become too much, you can always come down onto hands and knees and press one heel back and then the other. So if we're in downward facing dog or on hands and knees, we can do this next part together. So we're going to pick up our right foot and just reach it straight back, imagining that our hips are still level with the floor, leading with the heel straight behind us. And then you can do this on your hands and knees too. We're going to turn the hip out. So stack our right hip on top of the left, but trying to keep our shoulders both parallel to the floor. And then bend the knee behind us. So I'm imagining taking my right toes and touching my left shoulder with them. If you're on your hands and knees, it's going to look like this. So same thing, just less pressure. and then we'll inhale, come back to center. We'll take a moment, come into child's pose. There's a lot of work. We don't want to build up too much heat. And then when you're ready, hands come back underneath the shoulders. And again, either coming into downward facing dog or your hands and knees. And when you're ready, reaching back with the left leg this time. Keeping the hips parallel to the floor at first. And then when you're ready, stacking the left hip on top of the right, and then bending the left knee as if you could take your left toes and put them on your right shoulder. But taking care to keep both shoulders parallel to the mat. Two more big breaths here. I know it's a lot of work. And then we'll inhale, come back to center, and then release down to child's pose. You can bring your hands back by the feet, release the shoulders. And then when you're ready, we're going to inhale and come up. Move our blanket out from underneath us. And we're going to sit on our butts and roll through our shoulders. That was a lot of work with the shoulder blades, so I want to make sure you're not getting too stuck. All right, so we're gonna come into some seated poses here. So I'm gonna just turn sideways so you can see. So we have our legs extended here, straight out from the hips. We're gonna sit up nice and tall, and then exhale, come forwards into Paschimottanasana. Intense Western facing stretch or simply a forward fold. We're just finding some extra length here through the hamstrings, finding a little bit of compression through the front line, but not too much, especially if it makes you feel a little nauseated. You can stay up nice and high. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale and come up. Then we're going to come into a seated twist. So we're going to take our right leg, draw it up. We're going to come into half forward of the fishes. So lots of stopping points for us here. So this is one where all we do is draw the leg up and in towards us. We're sitting up nice and tall. If you find it hard to sit up nice and tall here, you still get some rounding through the low spine. You might want to sit up on the edge of a blanket. I might do today, to give myself a little bit of extra height here. So that feels much better. It's a lot easier for me to sit up nice and tall, less stress on my back. So first option is to stay here. Second option is to cross the leg over to the opposite side, as long as we're keeping the whole sole of the foot down on the mat. So you can draw the knee in as close as it'll come, just making sure the heel stays down here. Then we're still sitting up nice and tall. If you have the space and your knees will allow it, you can bend the opposite leg up and underneath you. But for me, since my knees are a little sensitive lately, I'm going to keep my leg extended. So now from here, opposite hand, so my left hand is going to wrap around the right leg, sitting up nice and tall, and come into a twist, gazing off of my right shoulder. Now if you have lots of space, you can take the outside edge of the left upper arm and come into a twist here. But I'm going to keep it nice and simple. Big inhales and exhales as large as you can manage. Sitting up nice and tall, making sure you're not rounding through the low spine here. Gaze is soft, down at the floor. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale and release. Extend through both legs, give them a shake. We'll do the other side. So this time, left leg is coming up and the big toe can either tuck right behind the knee here, or you can cross over if that's comfortable for you, sitting up nice and tall. If you want, you can always bend the lower leg in so that it sits right next to your hip, but it's not for me today. So now from here, we're going to take the right hand, so opposite hand wrapping around the front of the knee, and again, coming into our twist. So notice we're not leaning back, we're not using our arms, so my twist stays right where it is, with or without my arms. Big breath, as much as you can manage. And we'll inhale and release. Stick both legs out, give them a shake. And then from here, we'll inhale, reach both arms up. And exhale, come forwards into our forward fold once again. Nice and soft. No need to do anything or get anywhere. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale and come up. Extend both arms up. Shake them out. Okay. So, from here, we're going to just roll through the hips. So, both soles of the feet down on the mat. We're going to drop the knees off to one side. And help you center. Exhale over to the other side. Just work from side to side here. And we're massaging the outside edge of the hip. So make sure you're coming all the way down onto the outside edge of the hip. Massaging that between our mat and our thigh bone on the inside. Extend back down. So we're going to do an assisted twist with our props. So we're going to take our 2 blocks, we'll put them on the medium and the highest height. So now I'm going to put my bolster on top like a little ram. So I'm going to sit with my right hip right up next to it. You might have to sit up and let your flesh rebound around it and sit back down. And then I like to tuck the sole of my right foot right on top of my left knee. So having that much flexion in the knee is giving me a little bit of pain, so I'm going to open up my knee joint a little bit. That feels a little better. All right, It's all about finding what works for you. So even though this is supposed to be right angle here and a little bit more closed angle here on the back leg, I'm opening up mine a little bit today. So find what works for your body. Now from here, we're going to take the chest, turn it towards our bolster. I might have to pick up and set down one more time, and then work towards coming down onto the bolster. So we have a nice extended twist. So our hips are facing this way, and our shoulders are facing this way. So it's about 90 degrees. And you can take your face, and it can either face the same way, or you can rest on your chin, or turn the gaze to look off the opposite shoulder, completing the twist behind you. So find whatever works for you. Take a couple breaths here. We're going to spend about 2 minutes here. So if you have your face turned one way, I'll cue you to turn and look the other way when we're ready. You can turn your face the opposite direction if you'd like for 5 more breaths. Ready, you can inhale, bring your hands underneath the shoulders roughly, and work your way back up to seated. And we're going to do the other side. So you can either leave your props where they are and move your body, or leave your body where it is and move your props. I like to leave my props. It's easier for me to wiggle around. So this time, side of my left hip is going to come up nice and close to my bolster here. Drop my left knee down, tuck my right knee into the sole of my left foot, and see how I need to have this joint open. And once I'm there, I'm going to turn my shoulders so they face my prop and work my way down. So now if this is too far away from you, you can move your blocks in closer to you. This will increase the angle of your prop, so you want it to come down so far. Or if you want, you can move the props away, or even come all the way down onto your mat with no blocks underneath. It's up to you and how much space you have. And remember, we have options for turning the face, so I'll cue you when it's time to turn the face in the opposite direction. In the meantime, try to breathe deeply all the way in and all the way out. Turn your face if you haven't already. We'll bring the hands back underneath the shoulders. Inhale, press your way up. Unwind your pretzel. And just for kicks, while we have our props here, we'll just recline on them. So sticking your low back up close to the back of your props, your ramp, we're going to lay back. I can just take a moment here. Kind of like a modified fish pose. So I have my legs extended. You can of course choose any other variations of the legs if you want something like cobblers, or if you want the soles of the feet down and knees to drop in, that's fine too. And then we'll allow our arms to drop open to the side and feel some opening across the front of the chest here. If this leaves you feeling really vulnerable, you can always across the arms, placing the hands on the opposite shoulder. Either option is totally fine. Big inhales and exhales here. Couple more breaths here, focusing across on the opening across the shoulders, feeling the openness of the abdominal wall. And then when you're ready, we'll bring the hands behind the head. Inhale, work our way up to seated, and then we're going to move our props out from under us. We're going to come all the way down onto our backs. So from here, we're going to draw both knees in, give them a squeeze. Then we're going to hold on to the right knee and allow the left leg to open up and press down towards the floor. So feel an opening across the left hip flexor. This is one of my favorite poses, particularly because of the opening across the extended leg in that hip. I love the sensation in this pose. And when you're ready, we're going to take the knee and the opposite hand, draw it across the midline and come into a small spinal twist. And make sure you have something to catch your leg here. So whether it's blocks underneath the knee, or mine is coming down onto my bolster, which is a little bit softer, and it allows the whole length of my lower leg to be supported on the bolster. It's a really nice variation. We want to try and keep both shoulders down on the mat, so if you'd like, you can even open up the arms to the sides. If you don't have the space, you can bend the elbows and allow the palms to come face up like a saguaro cactus. Deep inhales and exhales here. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale, draw your leg back to center, bring both knees in, give them a squeeze. And we'll do the other side, so this time extending down through the right leg. You flex through the foot and imagine you could stand on a wall right at the bottom of the mat, opening up through the right hip flexor this time. Then when you're ready, make sure you have your props to catch you. We'll bring that knee into the opposite hand and then draw it across the midline. Deep breaths all the way in and all the way out as much as you can. Inhale, come back to center. Bring both knees in, give them a squeeze. If it's comfortable for you and you're interested, you can also do happy baby. One more final hip opener, finding openness across the abdominal wall. I'm going to take a variation which brings the soles of the feet together. If you want to do traditional happy baby, that's fine. Just something that opens up hips, the front of the abdomen. Or if you want to skip this and jump right into Shavasana, that's also an option for you. You can roll from side to side. And then whenever you're ready, you can draw the knees in, give them one final squeeze, and this time for Shavasana. So, I'm going to use my bolster for Shavasana, and I'm going to bring it right underneath my knees today. So, I have a little bit of flexion across the hips. I can relax into the pose. So find whatever variation works for you. If you need extra cushion someplace or a little bit of added lift somewhere else. And we'll just soften into our final resting pose here. Taking some deep inhales and exhales just to clear out any remaining stagnant air that might be in the lungs. If your mind wanders off, just bring it back to this moment, this place. Staying here for just a few more breaths. Remember, you are always welcome to stay here as long as you wish. But if you'd like to end with me, you can start to find some small movements in fingers and toes, wrists or ankle circles, a roll of the head, stretch of the arms, whatever helps you feel at home in your body. And then whenever you feel ready, you can slowly make your way off to one side, taking your time. Noticing the expansion of the breath on 3 sides of the body. The support of your mat on the 4th. And then whenever you feel ready, slowly pressing into the hands, working your way back up to seated. So I hope that this class helps you recover from all of your extra activities that you had over the weekend, whatever they may be, whatever you might have been celebrating. But as always, thank you very much for practicing with me today. Take care. Namaste.